Hey everybody, Dustin DePirek here, columnist Ryan Karchi, Zach Osterman of 247sports.com.
How many of these we've done?
Yeah.
Like, no idea what we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
The last, 2-3 years?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
And that
this is weird.
just happened. This is really weird.
Like 4 hours ago.
Yeah, like 4 hours ago, because we had a whole bunch of stuff to write in between then, and well, we had to get off the floor, which was hard enough in and of itself. But yeah, that
I actually walked through the stands, through the south end zone, into the lobby, and then over to the stairwell and down the stairwell into the press room.
It's quite the mosh pit.
Yeah.
Get down on the court.
Yeah. No, just so you even know what we're talking about. Yeah, obviously Indiana comes back. Christian Watford, 3-pointer at the buzzer, beats Kentucky. Number 1 Kentucky, 73-72. Madness ensues. Basically, there was a period where I thought the only chance I had was to actually crowd surf across the floor to find a way. That would have been interesting to try. I might have lost a laptop.
Zach and I were almost crushed under the weight of the student section in the south end zone.
Put my arms out to keep people. I had like students behind me who were like patting me on the shoulder the whole game. They probably would have crowd surfed me.
Yeah. So let's even try to put this in perspective, just what this means. Basically, I mean, anyone who's been following the program for the last 3 years, 3.5 years, whatever it is now, since the Kelvin Sampson sanctions and the roster purge and everybody getting either kicked off the team or leaving on purpose. Obviously, you saw 6-25, you saw 10-21, you saw 12-20. Lots of badness, just a lot of games where teams against Kentucky. It wasn't even really a dream. It was just maybe something miraculous would happen. Indiana comes in at this point like dogs by like 5 or 6, but it's like the first time you looked at it and said 3.5.
Yeah.
It was down to 3.5 again? I thought it was 3.5 off the gate, but I thought it went up. Anyway, you kind of looked at this one and said maybe, just maybe they've got a puncher's chance.
If everything came together.
If everything came together and everything, and the thing was, actually, everything didn't come together. It was kind of messy early, wasn't it? I mean, we talked about this.
Yeah, I mean, that's what stands out to me is that I don't think, I think they did a lot of the things they needed to do to win. I think they slowed the game down for long stretches. I mean, this was a very, there were long periods where this was really like a very half-court game, and you could tell Kentucky was not comfortable with that. They shot the ball well, especially from behind the arc, which was important. They were getting to the free throw line in the first half, not so much in the second. They did go even with Kentucky on rebounds, 30 rebounds, and they out-rebounded them on the offensive glass, 14-10. But at the same time, overall, they didn't shoot very well. They stopped getting to the line in the second half.
Yeah. Had a hard time getting the ball to Zeller.
Yeah,
really hard time, even when Anthony Davis was out.
Zeller took 2 shots and had 2 points in the entire second half, and they still beat the number 1 team in the country. And that jumps out to me.
I think it was just a testament to how far their defense has come. I know you guys can talk about it a little better than I can, but I mean, you can look at the rebounds and say they tied them.
7 steals, 17 turnovers.
Look at that. Even the stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, just pressuring guys into taking bad shots
or traveling or whatever.
Or traveling. There was 3 travels.
Fouls against a team that is much more athletic.
What I thought was
impressive.
impressive.
Be able to drive around them.
Yeah,
and
a playground game all day.
What I thought was impressive, especially in the first half, I think the reason, even though it was very much played in Kentucky's style of play. I mean, they were really going up and down, up and down, up and down, really choppy, 24 turnovers between the 2 teams. I thought what Indiana did to keep themselves in position just to have a lead at half was they didn't give up on transition, basically. When Kentucky was taking the ball basically all the way to the hole, they still just stayed with them, provided just enough resistance. They just made sure they were there. And there were times that they got dunked over and there were times they got, scored over. But they also, I remember Jordan Holes tipped one out of Michael Kidd-Gilchrist's hands when, if you're Jordan Holes and you're standing on the basket and Kidd-Gilchrist is coming at you, like, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think you have any chance whatsoever of doing anything? And he just stayed there, stood his ground, tipped the ball out of Gilchrist's hands and might have turned in the bucket the other way. But there was a lot of situations where it looked like Kentucky had the pace where they wanted to have it. They could, just run and just dunk over Indiana, and it didn't happen to the degree that it could have. Indiana just kept taking the game back somehow. They, caused turnovers, just kept fighting, I guess, through that first half and managed to just grind that.
They were never intimidated, which I think. No. I mean, as much as I've heard about the last few seasons, I mean, you guys haven't seen something like that. You haven't seen them.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they laid down for other teams, but I mean, you could definitely tell that they knew when they were sort of outmatched.
But they thought they were going to win the game. I mean, you could see it in how they came back, how they even after they gave up two 3 10-point leads. I mean, they still came back. They still, even on that last.
Well, they gave one 10-point lead. They kept going back and forth, and then it was 10, and then it was then Kentucky ran away. But really brought it
even
over
even with in that last 10-second span, I mean, they looked out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, when Victor Oladipo turned the ball over, I mean,
it
was
it really did.
It was easy enough just to lay down at that point.
Such a poor final sequence from. I mean, if you watch the
really
replay,
on both sides, the last minute or so,
it looks like Marcus Teague probably did or could have
fouled.
Maybe could have done enough to deserve a foul call on Verdell Jones, but he was also being screened.
Yeah.
And there's nobody else there. I mean, so poor of Kentucky. And Darius Miller is this team's senior. And he certainly had a chance to foul Verdell Jones. And instead he just followed him away from Christian Watford, who is actually a very good three-point shooter. And
I mean, I understand how it happens. I mean, I think obviously if you watched Verdell Jones in previous years, you think he's going to take a shot.
But
when he drives that deep,
just foul him.
Right? Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, fouling was obviously the best option.
And the thing is, even if you foul him in that situation and he gets a shot off and it's in the act of shooting, you foul him hard enough, he's not going to make it.
Right.
And then you're in a situation where the worst that can happen is he ties the game and he's at the free throw line. He's a better free throw shooter than he was last year, but he's not Jordan Hulls. He's not automatic. Now you've put a guy who's like a 70-something%, probably low 70s, I think, percent free throw shooter at the free throw line.
Yeah.
He has to make both just to tie the game.
How symbolic is it, though, that Verdell Jones and Christian Watford are the guys who make this play? I mean, let's just stop on that for a second. I mean, probably there's no two players on this team that catch more grief than those two guys. But, if you were to tell Indiana fans in general, and I actually posed this question on Twitter right after this game was over, okay, down by 2, 5 seconds left. You're going to have Verdell Jones, and he's going to pass the ball to Christian Watford. How confident do you feel if I just tell you that? I mean, Indiana fans would just, first off, they would storm Assembly Hall and ask for, maybe ask for Tom Crean's head. I don't know. One way or another, they would just not be confident in that situation at all. But, Verdell Jones, he had a kind of a rough day. I think 5 turnovers, makes the exact right decision. Exact right decision.
The exact opposite of what he may have in past seasons.
Yeah. And Christian Watford played the game of his life tonight. I don't think there's any question about it whatsoever.
20 points, 5 rebounds.
Holds Terrence Jones to 4. I mean, he wasn't defending the entire time, but Terrence Jones took 3 field goals. That's it. That's a preseason All-American. He holds him to 3 field goals. I mean,
and only went to the line once.
Yeah. I mean, those guys get ripped for Watford gets ripped for looking lazy sometimes. Verdell gets ripped for turning the ball over too much and, dribbling with his head down and some of those kinds of things. But in those moments, you saw those guys go against all those tendencies, especially Watford. Watford played just with a ton of energy tonight, and you see what he's capable of when he does.
I think, just to jump in here, and to shamelessly plug my column, which will go up tomorrow morning, I think it's deeper than that. I think that
it's a lot deeper than everything, but that I think is very symbolic.
Not every complaint, but every major. Jordan Hulls isn't a Big Ten point guard. He was matched up tonight with a 6'7" NBA small forward, and he scored 11 points on 4 of 7 shooting, and he had 5 assists.
Yeah.
Tom Crean, people question his in-game coaching ability.
Yeah.
He made several excellent decisions down the stretch.
He was exceptional.
And that final sequence.
He put the ball in Verdell Jones' hands.
Yeah, I mean, that final sequence was really smart. I mean, just that whole thing. Verdell Jones, the savviness of that play he could have gone in any direction to go to his left, knowing Christian Watford is trailing behind him to the left and Marcus Teague is behind him. If he goes to his left, he opens that space for Christian Watford. Watford smartly runs right into it. I think
it was really well drawn up play.
Tonight was everything that the last 3 years have not been. And that's just, that's irrespective even of the opponent. Tonight, Indiana did everything it hasn't done. Its players, its coaches, everyone did everything that they have not done in the last 3 years, the things that they have tried to do and not succeeded. I think that was the big thing for me tonight.
And I think it was...
We got to make this quick.
I think it was pretty fitting that after they had built this program kind of from the ashes, those guys were standing up on top of the scorers table, kind of overlooking the scene that
it was end to end.
Right now. I mean, I'm sure
real quick, all of them. But let's make this real quick. What does this mean going forward for this team? I mean, this is obviously big in terms of program or whatever. I mean, probably going to be a top 25 team on Monday Are we pretty sure at this point this is an NCAA tournament team?
Yeah.
And they're probably gonna go. They might go 12-0 in the non-conference.
Should.
I mean, they should
go 12-0.
13-0 if you count.
13-0 if you count North Carolina Central in February.
Okay. I mean, do you think
I don't know
this
when they
team can't
lose.
win 10 or 11 games in the Big Ten right now?
I don't know when they lose.
I
mean, they could lose to Michigan State. They could lose to Ohio State. They'll lose at some point.
This
isn't the 76 team, but yeah.
But I mean, this is.
I mean, arguably
This is a good team.
They might be the second best team in the Big Ten right now.
There is no ceiling for this team right now.
Not quite yet. We got to cut it off. But thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.